Well, if this isn't weird. All right. Just want to make sure everything's working. A lot going on. Hopefully this is all going to work out. I'm actually at my mom's house right now, so we're counting on mom internet to hold up. We'll see how that goes. Let me see if anyone's getting video. Anyone getting video yet? Nope. Okay, one person. That's all I need. One person is enough to get started. Hello. How are you? I'm at my mother's house. Hello. Okay. All right. So we're rolling. So here's the deal. I am, let's pause that. Going to do my best here. We are actually sort of in between houses right now. We're staying at my mom's until a couple of weeks. We're going to be making the trip up to Denver. So right now, we did get the better internet package at mom's house. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the stream going for the duration. I'm actually simulcasting to, hopefully, because sometimes this stuff doesn't work the way you think it does, to Facebook, YouTube, and our second YouTube channel, which is actually the first thing I want to talk about here. And there we go. Okay, so I'm actually checking both. Yeah, I'm doing both YouTube chat rooms right now. I am not reading the live chat on Facebook because it's just difficult to do live. So if you want to ask questions, don't ask it on Facebook. Find us on our YouTube page, one of the YouTube pages, and then we'll go from there. So here's the thing. We have a new YouTube channel that we just started, and it's more for organizational purposes. We do the weekly live show, and that's such a different piece of content than the regular content that we do on the Wood Whisperer site for like instructional videos and how-to and project videos. So what happens is if we do, if I don't do a project for a while, but I do 4 live shows, it starts to give the impression that that's all we do on the Wood Whisperer channel, and I don't want to give that impression. I'd rather it just sit there and wait for the next video to be published. So we started the second channel called Wood Whisperer Offcuts. From here on out, here's the key thing. We are not going to be doing these live broadcasts on the Wood Whisperer channel. Maybe we'll do them and we just won't save them there because we can kind of do multiple channels at once. But in terms of where these videos are going to be retained, it will only be on the Offcuts channel from here on out. So subscribe to the channel, Wood Whisperer Offcuts, and we're also going to be posting behind the scenes stuff, community things, anything. That's why we like the name Offcuts. It's kind of like stuff that's too good to throw away, but maybe not the kind of stuff we would necessarily put on the main channel. Now, if you follow us on our website, it doesn't matter. It's all going to show up there, and you don't have to care what channel it was posted to, right? It's only for people who follow us specifically on YouTube. But we think it'll help us compartmentalize things a little bit better and set the expectation for viewers. Make a sense? Yeah, I got my Wolverine shirt on again. If you have video and no audio, you probably have your audio muted. All right, so today I don't really have a whole lot to talk about because I'm at my mom's and my tools are all, I'm sitting on my mom's patio here. The tools are all packed up. Nicole's off getting her hair cut. Today's Mateo's birthday, so there's a lot going on, but I wanted to make sure we were able to do this because next week, I'm not so sure that we're going to be able to do a live show. We might have to do it very early in the week because we're going to BlizzCon in Anaheim. And then the week after that, we're moving to Denver. So it's going to be really difficult the next 2 weeks, but I wanted to make sure we did something today. Yeah, everyone get naked. Actually, that's how I get through these live sessions, that I just picture all of you naked. So, the other piece of news is cool stuff we found out this morning, that the house that we're purchasing, we officially closed on that today. So as far as all the unknowns about where we're going to be and when, thankfully we can close the book on that, or at least close that chapter of the book. So the former owners are renting back the house for a couple of weeks, which is why we have this kind of sort of in-between phase. But yeah, so now we can at least rest easy knowing that, we have a future. It's a little bit weird when one house is sold, but the other house isn't fully, closed, and you're sitting there going, I hope everything goes through. So it is going through. So that's good. The other thing I wanted to mention is, hey, who's listening to or reading Nick Offerman's new book? I got that on Audible, and it's really funny. It's really good. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do. It's not heavy reading. It's very light duty reading. Good storytelling. He's an excellent writer. He's an excellent wordsmith, as they say. I would highly recommend you check it out. Well, Bob, why are you watching YouTube and Facebook at the same time? If one lags the other, you just watch one of them. You only need one of us. So, yeah. So I got two chat windows open here, and I am open book. Ask any questions you want. I don't really have anything planned per se. I'm lucky I was able to even get this thing going. I couldn't find my Thunderbolt cable. I have my computer actually on a patio table, glass patio table out here, and I've got my laptop for the chat room. This is as cobbled together as it gets. So, yeah, good stuff. All right. See, that's why I mentioned, Pete. You don't have to know how to read. You just have to know how to listen. Get the book on Audible. I don't have time to read. I don't have a link for the book. It's called Good Clean Fun. Just Google it. You'll find it. It's on Amazon, Audible, any place you find a book. What takes me to Denver? Go to my website, Charles, and there's an article right on the homepage that says the reasons we're moving. And I'll mention it one more time. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to the second Wood Whisperer channel. It's Wood Whisperer Offcuts. I'll put the link in the notes when this one is done, because that's where all the live shows are going to be from now on. Corey wants to know if I have another dream shop planned for the new place in Colorado. Well, a dream shop is a very relative term, right? Because we all kind of want to make whatever our shop is into the best version it can be to get as close to a dream shop as possible. So I think it's possible to do that in any number of situations. This one happens to be smaller. So like folks are like, oh, if that was your other shop, is this one going to be bigger and better? No, it's going to be smaller and better. Every shop I do, or every evolution stage of a shop, improves it, right? So this is, granted it's a garage, but I'm going to bring everything I've got to make it as nice as possible. And I think this shop is going to be more interesting to more people, because I think there are more people working in garages and smaller shops than, sprawling standalone shops like we had before. So seeing what I do and sharing, the things I do in this space to try to make it work for me could very well be more helpful to you. And it's something you guys can relate to a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to it. And frankly, a lot of you have solved problems that I'm about to need to solve. So I'll be going to you for help and, sort of survey all of the things that have been done and pick the one that's best for my situation. And so Chad says, my dream shop is one with heat so that I could use it in the winter here in Wisconsin. One of the first steps, besides getting electricity, is heat. So I'm going to absolutely be getting heat. And hey, let's talk about heat a little bit. I don't mean to ignore questions, because there are some good questions here. What do you call it? I just lost my train of thought, sorry. So yeah, I was researching heat. Maybe those of you who are in colder regions can tell me if I'm off base with this. But it seems to me, while it's a little bit more pricey, that the infrared low-intensity heat tubes, where they basically have a giant tube and then a reflector canopy over it that runs the length of the shop, are probably one of the best cold weather options you could have for a wood shop, for a couple of reasons. It doesn't heat the air, right? It's heating objects, and those objects then heat the space. So it retains the heat a little bit better. And if I should have to open a garage door and the air goes out, it's not going to cool as fast. It'll stay warm. The other thing is it doesn't blow any air, so there's no blower attached to it. There's no active red heat element that could be a problem with dust. And the fact that it doesn't have a fan means that it's not circulating dust throughout the room. So that, from my research, seems to be one of the best options, but I'd love to hear anyone else's opinions on that if you have a better suggestion. Matthias B says, did you already try your Narex chisels? Here's the deal with the Narex. I didn't have a chance to really hone them. So they're out of the box. And I did use them in my grandfather clock project, but not for like extensive wood stuff. I kind of used them just to scrape glue. They're nice and flat on the backs, so it was a great sort of pairing operation I was able to do, but they are not honed up, so it's a little bit tough to judge them at this point. I haven't used them enough. MT Buckeye 12 is building a 8.5 foot long workbench for the garage. Any thoughts on what type of casters that are particularly good? I don't have specifics for you there, but you know, bigger is better a lot of times with casters, especially for something as heavy and large as that. The bigger the wheels, it seems, you know, you're going to have an easier time rolling it. Here in Phoenix, we were lucky. There's a place called Luna Casters, and I don't know if they have their own stuff made or if it's like, I don't know exactly where they source it, but it's not like a brand name, it's their brand. And they have any kind of caster or wheel you could possibly need, and the prices were great. Those were the folks I've always used for that stuff, but you can find the stuff online as well. But do a little digging, see what other people are using. You probably want something, geez, I don't know, like a 4-inch wheel on it. I don't know that I would want to go much less than that, but do a little digging, because people have made, you know, I've never had to make a workbench mobile, but plenty of people have. Orc Trump, when will I be setting up the new shop? Well, as soon as possible. So, yeah, there's no compressor, Albert, right? Just airplanes. When we get there, first thing we're going to have done the first week that we arrive, the sub panel for electrical. That's going to be installed first. The second thing is the heating. So we're going to have a heating contractor come in and take a look at the space, see what's possible, and hopefully get that infrared tube installed. The place is insulated. The garage is insulated. I don't know for sure how well insulated the garage doors are, but they're garage doors, which means they're going to be like a sieve, just because they're always poorly sealed. So at least with a little bit of heat, though, I should be able to get things done, be it shop improvements to start getting the space to look and act like a shop, or even just getting some of my tools that I'll be able to run in the near future, sort of like easy 110 volt, you know, non-complicated things. So if we have to get some projects going. So honestly, I think my first goal is to get this shop as functional as possible. You know, so once I have the sub panel, then we can start to run some outlets. I could look at my flooring options, some storage options, but I do want to spend a good amount of time making it into a shop. One thing that I did with the previous shop that I kind of regretted was, because of the pressure to build projects and having to get projects out that are not just like shop projects, I quickly got into the space, plugged in my tools, and started building furniture, which is great. That's fine. That's a great way to go. But what that resulted in was a very extended period of time over the course of like 3 years, where I was still just getting cabinets installed and drawers installed. I didn't take the time in the beginning to just focus on getting that shop ready. So this time, I'm kind of doing the opposite. I'm going to probably go in and try to focus as much as possible on making it a shop space. Because then if that's done, then I can be much more efficient from there on out, you know? And I think it's going to take time for me to wrap my head around getting, you know, things done in a space of this size versus what I had before. Getting my equipment to be where it needs to be, and dust collection stuff worked out. I mean, there's a lot to think about. So that's also one of the reasons why I wanted that second YouTube channel. Is because these are not things that I can film in a way that's very concise and you know, sort of edited in a way that's very easy to consume for everyone. It's something that, like, you really got to be deep into this stuff to want to sit there and listen to me talk about the location of my dust collection and setting up, you know, work triangles and trying to figure out how I want my tools placed in the space. So that's what that second YouTube channel is all about, is taking the time to explain that, because I want to talk to an audience who actually wants to hear that stuff. And that's why segmenting that is a smart way for me to accomplish that. Do what I like to do what you like to hear, but make sure the folks who don't want to watch that stuff don't have to. So long way around it is as soon as possible. And as soon as I have heat, then I could start thinking about those things. Yeah, you know what, Jim, the Air Force did follow me to my mom's. Actually, my mom lives in the same development. It's a very large development that we live in, and she's all the way on the other side, but it's still all within the Air Force's flight path, so you'll hear plenty. Do want to mention again that I am answering questions on YouTube, both of the YouTube channels. I'm watching both chat rooms. So if you're on Facebook, I'm sorry, out of luck, because they make it difficult for me to follow questions there live, but I can go back later and answer some of your questions. Okay. Andrew Lucas says, can you share some thoughts on using a respirator with safety glasses? My glasses sit high and my eyes seem vulnerable. Are there special glasses, wider bridge for use with a respirator? There may be, but here's how I do it, and it's still not perfect, but it works well enough for me. I wish I had them here because I'm not going to remember the names of these things. I normally just have them right on my bench. But you guys may have seen me wear these, and I've shown them in a video before. I have my ear protection on, respirator on, so you got the straps going here. I don't want anything on the side of my head if I can avoid it. So regular glasses pinched between my respirator and the whatever ear protection I'm using is no good for me. I don't like that. So what I have are these Velcro dots on my ear protection. And I have the glasses Full Pro, I think is the name of the company that does these. And they basically are 2 Velcro straps and the plastic protectors. So you bring them over your face and just attach the Velcro to the side. So now there's no arm bands of the eye protection on your ears and your temples. It just goes all the way around. And you also have the ability to sort of easily position it above or below, wherever it's more comfortable for you. Those are highly, highly recommended. It won't 100% solve your problem because you still have some gappage to be concerned about, of course, because the bridge of your nose is covered by a respirator, but it's definitely better than like traditional safety glasses. If your doors aren't insulated, drill holes and fill them with foam. Oh, that's an interesting idea, Albert. So like the foam insulation cans you're talking about, like the expanding foam insulating stuff, that could be an option. Because in the past, in a couple of garages I've worked in, once I put air conditioning in there, I replaced the doors with insulated doors, and that's pretty damn expensive, So if I could avoid that, that'd be great. That's an interesting idea, though. Oh yeah, definitely, Scott. Scott says make sure that your sub panel is rated high enough to allow for your tools and your heating. Absolutely, I'm going to get the most I can in a sub panel because I want to be prepared for not just heating, but if I decide down the line to install some kind of air conditioning, I want that there. And of course, dust collection running concurrently with another tool plus computer, not computers, plural, a computer, television, things like that. So should be all set with that, hopefully. Timon wants to know, can you just remove some doors and frame it in? I imagine you're talking about the garage. Well, yes and no. Depending on where you live, you might not be able to just frame in and close off a garage door. HOA restrictions and CC&R codes and things like that might restrict your ability to do that. What you can do, that no one knows about, is frame it from the inside. Keep the garage door there, but frame it in and close that door off in a sort of semi-permanent installation. That is actually what I'm probably going to do. It's a 4-car garage, so it's a single, double, and another single. And my thought is I only need one door for access to get materials and things like that in there, and I might even make that last door approachable for vehicle parking, if possible. We'll see. Let's not get crazy here, but I'd like to try if possible. So anyway, have that one open, and that means the other 3 bays, essentially, can be completely boxed off. Frame it into the wall, insulate it, seal it, so you basically don't have to worry about those doors at all, but you do need to seal completely around it so none of the elements can get through that barrier. And then you're taking 4 garage doors and reducing it down to 1. And now that last door, you could either upgrade the door, or like someone else said, fill it with foam if it's empty, or even just put the insulating pads or replace the seal around the outside. Just try to improve it as much as possible, but that's 1 door instead of 4, and that's got to be a huge improvement. The new shop size mic is, I'm told, like about 1,040 square feet. When the realtor took measurements for us, the numbers came in a lot smaller, so I don't know. The numbers were more like 960. But I don't know how accurately she measured it, so we'll see when we get there. But let's just say it's about 1,000. There you go. Full Pro Sound Vision. They're on Amazon. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Bicky's Woodworking says, get the car out of the snow. It's worth it. That's what I'm thinking too. Ultimately, we got to get the kids to school, and it's just nice for Nicole or I to be able to get into our little minivan and not have to worry about knocking the snow off or waiting for the car to warm up because it's freaking freezing. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That is the goal, but Nicole and I are both realistic about the way I do things, and a lot of times once I know that this is my shop space, it's very difficult for me to sort of co-opt that space for something else, including a car. But it can be done as long as I have a means to kind of take that one bay area and make everything mobile and move it out of the way. It's a realistic possibility, and for half of the year the car could just sit outside. I agree, Derek, that is still a good size shop, and that's why I'm not that worried about it. I mean, 1,000 square feet is a good amount of space. The key, though, is those walls that I talked about, putting up those semi-permanent walls, because if it's all garage doors on one wall, that's amazing. It's amazing how difficult, stupid fly. It's amazing how difficult it is to structure a shop when you actually have a wall that is unusable, meaning you can't run electrical through it, you can't mount stuff on it, right? So that's, I think, the key to making that 1,000 square foot space actually work, is putting the faux temporary walls up. Flooring is another thing we should talk about too, because it's concrete floors, and I believe the previous homeowner did epoxy them. And what's very different, a huge difference compared to what we have here in Arizona, I don't have to worry about, the floor being cold or hot. If anything, the concrete is cool here, so it kind of helps the situation. But there, I'm thinking it might be nice to have something to help create a little bit of an insulating buffer between the concrete and the airspace. So my buddy David Nichols, I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about him. He was our first guild apprentice this past year. David did an interesting installation in his shop space. And you know how people talk about putting the 2x4 sleepers down, and they put the rigid foam insulation between them, and they level it all out and put the plywood subfloor on top of that? Well, he just laid down the foam, and he said unless you really have to level things, you could lay that foam down, and it kind of approximates, sort of goes over some of the dips, the hills and valleys. It isn't going to totally get rid of them, but it can kind of like even them out just a little bit, and just lay that down. And it's completely a floating floor at this point. Put down a layer of tongue and groove ply or some sort of subfloor material, and then throw down a second layer running in the other orientation, perpendicular, and then screw it together. And if you want, you can screw all the way down like Tapcons and go all the way into the concrete. And then that's it. And it's completely removable if you need to remove it in the future. And once you screw all those together and get those two layers, even if you don't anchor to the concrete, that thing's not going anywhere, right? It's going to be this monolithic heavy thing that's not going anywhere at all. Super good on the feet, and adds a little extra insulation and sound dampening. And he also did something that he's like, look, I don't know if this is up to code because it's probably not, but he was able to run electrical via conduit, and made sort of channels in the floor so that now you can actually have electrical popping up wherever you need it in the floor. And if you think ahead when you're doing the installation, you could plan for those gaps to be there. And I'm like, dude, that sounds great. Although I am a little hesitant to show that kind of electrical work because I don't know how, I'd have to look into the code. I can't imagine it's going to pass, inspection in a lot of places, but it sounds like a cool option. So that's something I'm thinking about too. John Howard says, what kinds of issues do you anticipate for your shop furniture due to the change in climate? To be honest, John, I don't anticipate that much of a change. Colorado, Denver, is actually pretty dry. Over the sort of national average, they're pretty darn, low in humidity throughout the year. So out of all the places I could have moved, that's one of the places that I would say I'm not as likely to see a major, drastic change. But it will be a little bit more humid than what we have here, so there might be some expansion that we see. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But overall, I don't think I'm moving. It's not like I'm moving to Florida, let's say, in which case things might just go haywire. Eric Schwartz says, lay down foam track panels for radiant heat. Takes care of your heat and flooring issues in one solution. We'll have to look at that. See, and here's the thing. Eric says, to meet code, you'll have to separate the shop from where you might park the car. Well, there you go. Well, and there's a good point, right? That's one of the arguments to not bring the car in, is if I bring the car in, then there goes a flooring solution. I'm not going to park, be able to park on top of a floor like that, or at least I wouldn't want to. So maybe that's not going to happen. Sorry, Nicole. Tom Masters says, what are you going to use for air and heat using a Mitsubishi split heat pump? And I love it. Just have to keep it clean. Tom, I'm curious, where do you live? Because I do have a Mitsubishi mini split that I'm taking with me. But from what I understand, that is probably not going to be adequate for heat where I'm going. So I'm going with the infrared, low intensity infrared tube heater. If I install that Mitsubishi mini split, that's going to be primarily for air conditioning and maybe supplemental for heat if I want to use it. But I'm not even worried about that right now. I'm actually thinking that'll be later on down the line. I think heat is going to be my primary thing that needs to be in place first. And from what I've heard, the mini split might have some trouble in a space like this. That's why I'm curious where you live, that it's working well for you. Not Only Wood says, do you watch other small channels? To tell you the truth, I don't watch many channels. I've said this before. Small, large, it's not that I'm discriminating against any. I don't really watch much of anything. It's very difficult for me to find the time to sit down and watch other people's stuff, unfortunately. So when I can, something comes across my path, I'll take a few seconds to watch it. I like everybody. I just don't have time. I don't have time to watch, TV or anything else. Ooh, I hear a dog. Jason Small says that heat pumps don't work well below freezing. Oh, you know it, Dan. I'm gonna be out there, bundled up in my cargo shorts and t-shirt, scraping crap off of Nicole's window. Yeah, you know what the first trip is gonna be when we get there? Probably to Walmart to buy some clothes that actually make sense for Colorado. Because you're looking at the Spagnola wardrobe. I actually do have some hooded sweatshirts, which I like to affectionately refer to as my winter coats. And I haven't been able to wear those in years because it just doesn't get cold enough. It's been like, end of October now? It's been like 95 every day here. It's crazy. Der Carl says, if you build your walls behind the doors, keep them a foot away from the door. I will do that. And I'm guessing the idea is just to create a little bit of air space because the wall itself would be insulated, but I know air, so you sort of want that air insulation so you don't, I guess, get like the conductive thing going on. I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. I know at least for sound, it's good to have like multiple types of insulation, including an air space. So that is something I will keep in mind. Though, man, a foot, losing an entire foot along the length of the shop, I mean, if it makes a dramatic difference, it's probably worth it. But I probably would try to push the limits and go like 6 to 8 inches. Just because I don't want to lose that much space, Oh, and you know what? I'll be able to finally wear my shop apron, right? That's something I don't wear here because who wants more layers? Jamie, the ceiling height is, I don't know exactly what it is. It's adequate. I think it's at least 10 feet. It's probably 10 feet, 12 feet maybe. I have to measure, but it's good enough. Carport's not a bad idea, Stuart. I don't know that the HOA would go for it, but it's definitely something to consider as an alternative. Wait, somebody wanted me to say hi to him. Where'd you go? From Brazil. Hermes Irenu del Monego. Well, I said hi to you, but you have a very difficult to pronounce name for a dumb American. So, oh boy. Oh, we do have remote start. So we got that covered. The clock video, the clock video is already up, and that's a guild project. The free version, which I like to do of some of the guild projects, a very quick free version of those videos, probably isn't going to be out for months. We're probably going to bring out the barrister bookcase and a sofa table before we do that. Matt's doing the sofa table, and I'll be doing my barristers, but the clock won't be on the free site for a long time. But it is available in the guild. Jose says, I'm working on a set of building blocks for my son, and I'm thinking about coloring them with food coloring, but I need to waterproof them. What kind of finish would you use? I think Derek's on the right track. If you're going to go with something that you need a film finish, shellac is probably thought to be one of the safest that you could choose. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, MT Buckeye 12 says, I wanted to mention, after almost 2 years of watching your videos, I'm finally a guild member and couldn't be happier. The green and green blanket chest. Hey, awesome. That's good to hear. Oh, you just reminded me. Your name's not unpronounceable. It's Boet Elfring. We have another sale today, our moving sale. The chest of drawers is 40% off. So if you go to the guild site, look for the chest of drawers, 40% off this weekend only. So get on it. Actually, Corey, one of the first things I want to do is a sled. Because, you know, my son has never seen real snow. And I may have told this story before, but his daycare once had like winter snow night or something. And it was the most pitiful, sad thing in the world. They brought this snow-producing truck that threw basically, what do you call it? Like snow cone ice. It was basically like shaved ice into the black top of a parking lot, and then told the kids it was snow. And all these like Arizona little babies and kids who have no idea are like, oh, look at the snow. And Mateo, he was not into it. He didn't like it. And so I'm like, buddy, we'll take you to see some real snow. Like, it was pitiful, and it was hot too. So the stuff was melting immediately. It was just awful. But I would like to make a sled. I think that would be a fun project. And by the way, folks who are on the regular Wood Whisperer site and Facebook, I'll mention it one more time. We do have a second channel now on YouTube called Wood Whisperer Offcuts, and we have a video up already showing, like, this is hot off the press. This was like yesterday's move, or 2 days ago. Took the footage and published it. So if you want to see, you know, the whole moving away from the shop experience, that video is up there for you to watch, and go check it out. Why are you just streaming? That's a really confusing question. I know, right? There's no air compressor kicking on, David. It's like we're not even in the shop anymore. Chris, the only way to become part of the guild is to buy one of the projects in the guild. But any project you buy makes you a guild member. Hey, yo, from New Jersey, it's Michael Rogowski. How you doing, buddy? Michael Gomez says, any major tool changes since you auctioned some? Well, the table saw is gone, but I'll probably be replacing it with a PM2000, so not a major change there. My bandsaw situation might change. I currently have a 14-inch and a 20-inch, and for space, you know, that to me is the ultimate setup, but I may not be able to afford the space. So I may sell both of those and compromise with like 15, 16, something in that like maybe even 18 range. Something that can handle the larger stuff, but also easily handle smaller stuff with the right blade. That might be, you know, on the list of things to change. Beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, a lot of times you have to prioritize once you're in the space and you look at what's actually possible. So if I get to the point where it's like, well, I don't have enough space for an assembly table and an outfeed table, then the compromise becomes, okay, the assembly table becomes the outfeed table, right? So you have to start thinking in terms of more efficiency and combining workstations. Hey, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for joining the guild, man. Appreciate it. Oh, you pronounce, so B-O-E-T is pronounced boot. Boot. Well, Casey Cleveland asks, how well does Epifanes hold up throughout the winter, frost, snow, etc.? That's a darn good question, and I'll probably be able to let you know in about a year. The Epiphanes stuff has held up pretty well out here in the heat. I just don't know from personal experience. I mean, any film finish that has to go through a very cold winter and experience the elements is not going to be happy. But that is one of the best finishes out there, so you stand a good chance. But I don't know what the actual, from personal experience, cannot tell you what is actually going to happen. I have not used metal detector phone apps, Carl, if you're talking to me, because I don't really generally come across material that has metal in it. Most of my stuff is processed far enough from clean sources that I've never really, other than a staple from somebody like stapling flags or some kind of tag on a stack of lumber, usually wood or metal in the wood is not a problem for me. Aaron, did you make those blocks? Aaron's asking about the kids' blocks that Nicole ordered. Yes, they did. They were very nicely finished. I was impressed with the smoothness. I inspected each one before I handed them to my daughter, and I said, I approve. I approve. But they looked good. Nicely done. If that was yours. I assume they were. Did Cremona, Michael Gomez wants to know if Cremona used Epiphanes on his picnic table, outdoor table. I think he did, because he actually was asking about the Epiphanes matte finish, because he hadn't had any experience with that, and I'm almost positive that he used Epiphanes for that. Terry wants to know if my mom and stepdad are moving to Colorado. The answer to that is no, at least not yet. Who's minding the store? They are. We'll be bringing in some stuff. So when we move, there's going to be a period of time where my mom is going to stay with us, but we still need to manage the store while she's there. So we're going to have to bring enough inventory to do that. And I don't want to bring everything, so we might bring one variety of t-shirts and then books and things like that. So we can't bring all of the t-shirts. So we'll probably have a slimmed down version of the store for a period of time, but we have to actually bring that stuff with us. It's going to be kind of crazy. I answered this a little bit earlier. You might have missed it, Eric, but generally speaking, Denver is fairly dry. Probably has more humidity than we have here, but not nearly as much as other places in the country. So, I'll take it as I go. We'll find out. I mean, I lived in San Diego before, and, there's plenty of humidity to be had there. And, you do have to be careful on some days doing certain types of finishes, but it's usually not that big of a deal. Philip says, I'm interested in Clickworks. I think you mean the Clockworks? Where did I get them? Clockit. Just Google Clockit and you'll find them. Later, TJ. Clickworks. Kyle Ingram says, I have a dedicated standalone shop that's 26 by 46. I live in a rural community. Besides keeping things locked, do you have any suggestions for security? Thinking of cheap cameras and DVR. Well, it depends on how much you want to geek out on this stuff. I know for us, I don't know that you can call it security. I mean, it is to an extent, but some of this stuff isn't as secure as it could be. But we have cameras that we use. And there are plenty of like smart home devices that you could put on the shop. You could have glass break sensors, motion detectors, cameras. You can have all kinds of stuff. And it won't necessarily be monitored by a company unless you like install an ADT system or something. But you can certainly monitor these events with an app. So yeah, I think, what's the company that I've been using? Smart Home? Yeah, I think it's Smart Home or Smart Things. One of those. Samsung's line. And theirs is great. Like, it interfaces with all kinds of cameras and all types of devices and Z-Wave equipment and stuff like that. So I think that's good, because then if you hear an event triggers a motion, in the middle of the night, it's not going to send off an alarm, but maybe it activates something on your phone, and you could take a look at the camera, and with an infrared camera, you could look and see, okay, there's nothing in the shop. It might have been a false alarm or a cat, or something. But you can use all of these smart home devices now to add some extra security to your shop. That's what I do. What happened with, Mike wants to know what happened with the question about compensation for the free Kindle version of your book. I don't know, Mike. We didn't even look into it. Just because of the move and everything, it was just not a high priority question. And the way I look at it with the book was always, at least the way we think of it as a business, is sort of a loss leader. It's not really something that I make a whole lot of money from directly. And we probably, we haven't and never will. It's more of something that, like, hey, if someone gets this and they find out who we are, and maybe they go to our website, and then maybe they become a guild member, or they buy a t-shirt, whatever. It's something that hopefully brings people into, our little world. So even if we don't get a cut, the fact that people are reading that book, it's all good. Gary says he wants to know what the finish is on the grandfather clock. I went with a lacquer on that one. I need something that would dry quick. I didn't have enough time because I was trying to get this thing done before the shop was about to be emptied out and moved. So went with Sherwin-Williams Cab acrylic lacquer. One of my favorites. It just dries quickly, easy to apply. Pavel Silviu Tuvici, why don't you salute it, viewers? I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm sorry. Is it snowing in Colorado yet? I believe some parts have gotten a little dusting, if I'm not mistaken. But at least the part that we're moving to is having a very warm fall. So it's gorgeous there right now. Hey, someone from Peoria. You're right down the road. And someone from Syracuse, Michael. My uncle lives in Syracuse. And someone from Brazil. I don't know anybody from there. How you doing, Fabiano? Jorge says, do you wear the rubber ring all the time or only during shop times? All the time. My wedding ring is in a secure location guarded by several large people and weapons. And my Kalo ring stays on my finger. I don't even have to think about it. I love it. Robert Stacks says, what finish did you use on the bookcase? Will it hold up to kids? Well, watch the video. It shows what finish I used. It's just paint. And will that hold up? Sure. I don't see why not. Just use a good quality paint. It should hold up unless your kids are like chewing it. Then that's a different story. Jacob wants to know about the Bosch miter saw. Did you miss the video I just did recently? I did a little mini review with the Bosch versus the Capex. What are you going to miss from the old shop? Cheetos 6531 wants to know. Honestly, probably the bathroom and the sink. Those were like two of the best things you could possibly have in your shop that if you don't have, anytime you need to go to the bathroom or you need to get water for something, or even just to wash your hands, you got to go in the house to do that, which is a pain in the butt. So honestly, those would be the things I would miss the most. Jason Small says that the Woodworkers Fighting Cancer donations seem pretty anemic. Any plans to push it more? Well, Jason, there's only so much we can do. We're in a very difficult position right now to not, we're not able to do things as we normally would. So it's going to be what it's going to be. But I don't think we're going to. I think you'll be surprised when you see what the final tally is. Let's put it that way. We'll do okay. There are no tools on Mom's patio, Lance. It's actually office furniture and some kids' toys and stuff out here. All the tools are in storage right now. Michael wants to know if I've decided on a lighting solution for the new shop, LED or conventional. I am 99% sure I'm going to go with LED, and I don't know exactly what version of that I'll go with, but there's a lot of research to do. I still got to talk to my buddy Vic, who knows a lot about lighting. I'll probably go with, largely with his guidance, but I think we're moving toward LED. Technically woodworking. You were there last week, huh? Drew Carpenter says, hi, new follower. Don't know if you have an opinion or experience on chalked paint or not, but what would be the best finish to coat for it? Used Rust-Oleum non-yellowing spray and it yellowed. Probably something water-based. Generally, if you're going to put it over like a latex paint or something like that, Drew, water-based tends to keep your true color, right, and doesn't yellow as much over time. And maybe some brands do and some don't, but you're going to have your best shot at a non-yellowing finish if you go with water-based. Any Grizzly tools in the future? D. Hoffman I asks. Not that I have plans on. Nothing wrong with Grizzly, but I don't really have any purchase plans for anything Grizzly. Chad says if someone outbids him on the HVLP setup, he's going to donate directly. Well, that would be awesome, Chad. Thank you so much. Let's see. Bob Snyder says, for the annual update on the Epifanes door with matte, do you lightly sand it, put a new coat of gloss, and then matte, or just sand and a new coat of matte? Well, I don't have that door anymore, but I would probably lightly sand and then put on a new coat of matte. Can you be honest and tell us how much you're getting paid for having your YouTube? I can absolutely be honest and let you know that that's none of your business. That's my honest opinion. Hank's Lumber in Temecula or nah? I've never been there. When I was in Temecula, I like that was where I started woodworking. So I only knew about a couple of different places, but we moved pretty soon after I started. Hey, Kentucky native, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Dan, you're funny. New coat of which matte? Cremona or Vanderlist? There are only 2 flavors of matte. Well, my mom, RS Creations, my mom will still be handling, my mom and stepdad will still be handling the shipping. Even though we were in the same neighborhood, very close to one another, they had most of the inventory of the things that get sold anyway. So the fact that we're in a different state isn't going to really impact things very much. I do sign every single book. So what we'll do is have book shipments come to me. I'll sign them all. And then when we just visit and things like that, which will probably happen frequently, they'll be able to take the books and bring them back here. Yeah, Jim actually brings up that the truth of the matter is that YouTube terms of service say that you are not allowed to disclose your income, and people have gotten in trouble for doing that in the past. So even if I wanted to let you into my business, I would get in trouble for doing so. People are right, though. The YouTube revenue is a very small portion of what keeps my business going. It's there, but it's small. Matt Cremona. Oh, Hemet. I had a co-worker of mine that I used to commute with down to Carlsbad. She lived in Hemet, or probably still lives in Hemet. The shop has not shipped. The shop is temporarily being stored here, and then when it comes time to move, they're going to load it back up and take it up to Colorado. Oh, cool. MBO 9058. Thanks for joining the guild. And that woven hamper, that's a fun project, isn't it? That actually is one of my favorites. Hey, Peppa Delija, what do you think about Steve Ramsey's projects? Let me answer that this way. I don't like questions that are looking to start something. And that's a question that's looking to start something. Steve is doing what Steve does, and he's very good at it, and I hold no ill will. I don't personally have a need to build the things that Steve builds, but what does that matter to anybody at all? He's doing his thing, just like I'm doing my thing. And if someone asked him what he thinks of my projects, I hope he would say the same thing. Who cares? You know what I mean? And I'm sure you didn't mean that in a negative way, and I apologize for responding that way. But when I'm reading the stream of questions, it comes across as a question that's looking for me to cast some negativity his way, and that's not going to happen. Gary, am I going to catch the Doctor Strange movie? Dude, I'm so far behind on movies and TV shows in general. I think there's like 2 Avengers movies that we still haven't seen. I haven't seen Batman versus Superman. Like the list goes on. It's just lately we have not been able to do any movie watching. Yeah, Aaron's worried that if we spread Matt pretty thin with that many coats. He's already pretty small. There's not a lot of Matt to go around. Brad Campbell wants to know, when cutting mortises, what's your preferred router bit? A straight bit or some type of spiral? Absolutely a spiral and an upcut bit. So you have your down cut and your upcut spiral. The upcut is one that tends to pull the chips out of the mortise, which lowers your friction and keeps the hole a little bit cleaner. But yes, absolutely spiral configuration. This way you could easily plunge in, make your cut, and go. So spiral, upcut, always my favorite choice for a mortise. See, the thing is, even if the movie's bad, guys, I still need to just watch it. I need to know where the story went, so I know what's going on. I like to see what they try to do, or what, a lot of times they'll take these stories from a comic that I've read, or a series, an arc in a comic that I've read, and I like to watch just to see how they handle it. So even if it's bad, I still will watch it. Fred McIntyre says, I noticed that you drink a lot of Dunkin' Donuts coffee. What is your favorite donut? Well, I don't really eat the donuts. But if I'm going to eat a donut, it's going to be a Boston cream. Oh, brands of router bits. Well, there's a lot of good ones. Freud makes decent bits. CMT makes decent bits. Amana, Whiteside, they all make good bits. Michael Rogalski. Trump or Hillary? That's a question that I'm not going to answer. Actually, I will answer that question. Vote for Pedro. That's who I'm voting for. Hey, thanks, Hugo. The red pill or the blue pill? Where do I get my t-shirts? Nicole is really good at getting these t-shirts. She'll get them from like Kohl's, Target. She'll find them online. Anytime she sees one that she thinks I'll like, she picks it up. Fernando, I don't know how much all of my shop equipment weighs. That's a good question. but a lot, I would say. How much to ship it? I still need to get the final tally on this because I don't know for sure. A lot of this is billed hourly. If I remember the estimate that they sent me, I have to go look it up, but I think it's going to be at least $5,000 for the shipping. It cost $1,400 to do what we did the other day. Pack it up, put it in a truck, put it in storage, and hold on to it for a couple of weeks. It's the going to Colorado and unloading where the lion's share of the cost is going to come from. Aaron Sousa says, how would you cut a perfectly square hole in the middle of a tabletop? Quite honestly, I would probably lay it out, of course, get the pencil lines where they need to be, make sure you have it centered and nice and square, and I would do one of two things. I would either devise a router jig, which would get me close, get it where I need it to be, probably something with a guide bushing would be the way to go, and then I would chisel my corner square. If we're talking about something that's a little bit smaller, I may just chisel to the pencil lines. It shouldn't be that difficult to do if your lines are where they need to be. Maybe even scribe the lines with a nice sharp knife and then use those as a guide for your chisel. Hey, thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. You want to store the Festool domino? Well, of all the tools I have, oddly enough, the domino was one of the easier ones to move. I don't need help with that one. Wayne, ETA on the move, November 11th is when we're heading out. Other YouTube channel is Wood Whisperer Offcuts. So if you search for it, it should come up now since we do have one video. We had like 1,000 followers or 1,000 subscribers this morning, so you should be able to find it. Dan, I haven't thought. Well, let me preface that with a lot of people threw some good ideas at me when it came to the finishing of the gaming table and accessories to make for it, and a dice tower was one of them, and I just haven't had time to do that. Jim, doing a dresser to go with the chest of drawers is not a bad idea. It's not in the plans, but I like what you're thinking. You can hear them? Yeah, my daughter is in the living room, and my brother's in from London. So there's a lot going on, and everybody's like converged on my mom's house. So it should be a fun couple of weeks. Hey, Jesse, thanks for the offer. I'm not really sure what we're going to do in terms of unloading. We may just hire people to like get it done as soon as possible. We've got 3 pods that need to be unloaded. And then a few days later, the guys with the shop equipment arrive. So we might need some help, but I find it easier to just pay for help. I feel bad asking people to help. Is there a mobile app for Offcuts? Well, you would just use the same YouTube app. Like if you use YouTube for your other subscriptions, you could subscribe to the Offcuts channel there. And the Wood Whisperer app will also have all of that content. Joe, I don't know. Anyone else know if Joe can use the Lee Nielsen number 62 blades on a Stanley number 62? I honestly have no idea. I don't see why not. But they might be sized slightly differently. William Gillis asked, what would be a good wedding gift to make for some friends? It might to us woodworkers seem overdone or trite to do this, but I think a cutting board, like a really beautiful end grain cutting board, makes a fabulous gift. So that would be, a nice thick butcher block cutting board is a great gift. Nicole and I are not playing WoW, but let me tell you, we want to. We want to so bad. I hear the latest expansion is fantastic, and all of our friends are playing, and we just have not, just because of the move and everything, have not had time. Yeah, there you go. Call Lee Nielsen and ask. Or Google it. Someone's bound to have answered that question. Lance, I'm not selling a hollow chisel mortiser yet. It has occurred to me that I might want to. Because it is honestly, I don't use it that often, but I'm afraid that if I sell it, then I'm going to want it. Like there's going to be a project that comes along and I'm going to go, that hollow chisel mortiser would have been damn handy for this. Yeah, turn bowl is a great, easy to make gift. Quick turnaround, right? Oh, is that a tattoo recommendation, Philip? You know what? I got to get an appointment because I still have like 2 sessions to finish this thing before we leave. Hey, well, thank you, John. I really appreciate that. How you're playing and watching? I need to get. We've got our gaming PCs sitting right there, not being used. Recommend a good planer. Ladybug wants to know. Has a Porter cable. I get some bad sniping on my cutting boards. You know, prior to having a big floor standing planer, I had one of the DeWalt models, and it was great. It worked really well, even though it was just a lunchbox planer. So I haven't used a lunchbox planer in a long time, but I do remember the DeWalt served me quite well. Thoughts on using beetle kill pine on a new project? I don't know. I've never used it, Alex. I can't really comment. Is a gripper worth the investment? I think so. I do. It's, you know, there are a lot of times where there are cuts that I would not make if I didn't have the gripper. I don't use it on every cut, though. There are things that I find a regular classic push stick or push shoe to be a little bit easier to use. But I do think it's a decent investment. Hey, thanks, Johnny Bo. Johnny Bo 20. The Atherian says, I have a piece of wood from an old nightstand. Someone said it's mahogany. Any way to find out? Yeah, take a picture of it, post it in a woodworking forum. You might get some answers. Blah! I don't have a tattoo artist lined up in Colorado. I've gotten a couple of recommendations, but I don't have one lined up just yet. I'm taking suggestions. I'm auditioning tattoo artists. I think we're going to have to wrap this one up here. I'm glad everything is working out. This is great. My laptop's at like 5%. It seems like the stream is working, and couldn't ask for anything better than that. So as I close this out, I'll probably grab a couple more questions. Let me say before I forget, next week, I don't know that we're going to be able to do a live show because we're going out of town for BlizzCon, and then the week after that is the move. So if we do a live show, it might have to be like on a Wednesday of next week. So hopefully, let's plan on doing that. I really don't want to just completely not do a live thing. Even just sitting here and doing a Q&A, I think is a lot of fun and hopefully useful to some people. So it's better than doing nothing. But yeah, any other questions I can answer real quick? Dave and Sue, what's the shop tool you like to use the most and the one you hate the most? Okay, the tool I like to use the most is probably my low-angle jack plane. I don't get to use it all the time, but when I do, that thing is sweet. Love it. Tool that I like to use the least. This is a difficult one. I don't know, man. There's just not, there really aren't many tools that I dislike using. Like every one of them has attributes that I love. I don't know, the jigsaw. And that's only because, like, it's a jigsaw. Ava. You guys want to say hi to Ava real quick before we go? We got time for some tomfoolery. Hold on, I'll go get her. I'm about to finish, so I want to bring Ava to say hi. Come here, baby.
Why you don't bring Mateo?
Mateo's busy. He makes too much noise. He can come out if he wants to. Come here. Come here. Yeah, let's say hi. Say hi. Ava, look. Look. Who's that baby? Who's that baby? Who's that baby? Is that Ava? Come here, birthday boy.
Go on, say hi.
Come here, man. You don't have to if you don't want to, buddy. Ava's soaking it all up over here. Look up there. Oh! Tell everybody it's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Hey, what'd you have for breakfast?
Pancake.
How many pancakes?
100.
No, it was 5. You silly guy. All right. Well, I think we're going to close it off. This is a good opportunity to do that. Millie's walking in the bush over there. So, Ava, what do you think we should talk about next time? Because we don't have a shop, so we have to come up with something to discuss in a live show. Would you like to talk about Cheerios? You want to talk about Peppa Pig? She's totally not interested. All right. Hey, thanks, everybody. Aaron, Ava, do you want to say thank you, Aaron, for the blocks? Thank you, Aaron, for the blocks. How's that? All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll try to do this again before we go to BlizzCon next week. All right. We're going to go. Let's go find Mommy. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.